Craig Campbell is visiting from Britain, and I will let Craig introduce himself.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks for coming, Craig.
That's quite all right. Thank you for having me. Okay, so, excuse me. I work for the Golden Hind Trust. I'm their archivist. Francis Drake was an English maritime hero, I suppose. He started off from a common background. His father was a farmer, could have been a highwayman. There's all sorts of evidence saying that he maybe came from a criminal background, but
highwayman being a robber.
Yes,
someone who would rob people traveling on the road.
Yep.
And what era do we place Drake in? What years?
It's Elizabethan.
Okay.
So we're talking the 1500s.
Okay.
And so they had to flee from around the Plymouth area in the
we're talking
Southwest.
Plymouth, England.
Yep.
Okay.
And they ended up in Kent, where his father became he was a priest working near all the docks in Chatham, and so Francis Drake started getting apprenticeships with some of these sailors, and then rose through the ranks with help of close family friends, the Hawkins, and would...
and do we know roughly what age it was that Francis Drake took to sea?
Early 20s probably, maybe even younger. It's not... The problem is evidence. With everything,
Sure.
There's not a whole great deal of evidence, especially because, like I said, he was from a common background, so things weren't necessarily written. But he made it through. He pushed and pushed, and eventually became a captain on some of Hawkins' voyages, and finally was able to help out some people in the right places and get a name for himself, meet with Elizabeth, organise a trip which would take him eventually around the whole world. It made him the most famous English mariner at the time, because only one other person had, on paper, had circumnavigated the globe before him. The British were illegally trading, I guess, and they were on slaving voyages, which was obviously at the time it wasn't a thing that didn't happen. It was quite common.
And we're talking about slaves from Africa.
Yes, so they would go to Africa and bring slaves across. A horrible, horrible thing, but it was at the time a common thing. Drake never captained a slaving voyage. He was, like I say, rising through the ranks at this time, so he went on the voyages to get his name. From all the accounts, from what we know, he wasn't interested in raiding the native people and stealing all their gold and silver and all that kind of stuff like the Spanish were doing. He was interested in getting even with the Spanish and really making an annoyance to Philip II, who was the king of Spain at the time.
And so in a modern context, we could say he's sort of balancing the world domination power, trying to make Britain a world power, at least on the sea.
Just make Spain know that there's people out there who aren't going to stand for their ways.
I'm a treasure hunter. I've been treasure hunting for years now. One night, me and my father were talking, and he was like, "Son, you should go check out this beach. When I was young, there used to be black sand and gold flakes everywhere." So I went and I searched it out. And I was out there with my metal detector, and I came across a coin. At the time, I didn't know it was a coin. I almost skipped it back into the ocean. I thought it was a washer or something like that. But upon going home and looking at it, I realized there was an etching in the coin. It was an etching of a pyramid with the sunburst behind it. And it's clearly hand-cut and man-made. And it's made out of silver. So I went back, and upon exploring, we uncovered Sir Francis Drake's hidden treasure and his harbor.
So they sailed north. They managed to find this treasure ship that had left from around Peru area, Colombia area.
And when we say a treasure ship, we're talking about there's a lot of wealth on one boat.
Well, it managed to... What Drake took, it took him 6 days to transfer from the Nuestra Senora de la Conception, or Cacafuego as it was commonly known by the sailors.
So in a modern comparison, we're talking about it's more than robbing a Brinks armored truck.
Sure.
We're talking about lots of wealth.
What they took back was able to write off the entire English national debt and fund a complete new beginning of a navy.
We're here, the Red Barn, talking to Craig from London, and we have our evidence here. Drake treasure, coins, cannonballs, blank coins. These are made of silver. We have a ingot or a silver bar, which would cut the coins from. Some kind of crude measuring device, or ruler, maybe. And we have a hammered piece of substrate, which they turned into bars. And you can still see the hammer marks on it. Incan statue still has the gold flake and red paint on it. You can see the gold clearly on this camera. Red paint. See, it goes together like this. See the pedestal? It was a statue covered in gold and red paint. It's Mayan. You shouldn't be in the Bay Area. Unless it came off a Drake ship. My father and I, we found Drake's lost harbor and lost treasure. We have been in correspondence with Buckingham Palace, the Golden Hind Trust Museum, and right now we're meeting with Craig Campbell, the head archivist for the Golden Hind Trust. You're seeing our artifacts. They are in the process of being carbon dated as we speak. This is history in the making. Sir Francis Drake's lost treasure.